Rock and roll doggy.
Sort of a musical journey, really. You know? No, it's a musical journey.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Rock and Roll Doggies, two lifelong friends breaking down music that's been important in our lives. I'm Jason, along with my friend Don, the Smurf, and we are traveling through the catalog of U2. This is part 2 of our review of Rattle and Hum. We are at the point now of taking a look at what track, Smurf?
Next track, Angel of Harlem. The latter half of this, I've not really been all that enthusiastic about any of the music that we talked about up to this point. Once we get into the latter half of this album, I think it really, the new material really is head and shoulders above what's on the first half. And this is a song that I think proves that. This is Angel of Harlem is...
Looking for ways to save on your energy bills? AES Indiana has you covered. From smart thermostats to home energy assessments, we offer simple solutions to keep your home comfortable and your costs down. AES can help you save money and energy with kits, tips, rebates, and more. Visit aesindiana.com/ways to save to learn more about how we can help you save money. AES Indiana, helping you discover real ways to save.
Yeah, I think it should have been an opening track because it sets the mood for the whole album, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. It's a great track. It's a great, legit good song. Huge hit. My friend Brian Adams considers this one of the best and most important songs in their whole catalog. He thinks it's hard to argue against it because, I mean, I took for granted because it was such a big hit. It was a big radio hit. When you look at the arrangement, it's so good. It's so joyous.
And by the way, I'm going to, I've been to Memphis a few times, but I'm going to Memphis in September. And I'm going to Sun Studios to visit. Of course, it was a storied studio long before U2 recorded there. But there's a lot of meat in this song about American music culture. So Lady Day Got Diamond Eyes is Billie Holiday. Mm-hmm. Suffered greatly in her life, obviously, at her own hands, but, she had a lot of evil cast upon her at an early age. There's references to Miles Davis, John Coltrane's Love Supreme. Berlin on 53 is a reference to Charlie Parker in the club that I thought Birdland was on 54th Street in New York, and I tried to prove it to myself, and I couldn't. So I guess it is on 53rd, or was on 53rd. And if anybody hasn't seen the movie Bird, directed by Clint Eastwood, it's a wonderful movie.
Fantastic.
But there's just a lot of meat. This is one of those songs where I think, again, they're projecting their fandom of American music. If other people don't see it that way, that's obviously their prerogative, but it's pretty clear to me they're not pandering.
Not at all. And BLS being a legendary New York radio station too, being a radio nerd, I loved hearing that. And I loved painting that picture of the city, New York like a Christmas tree. And,
I think that's a Rockefeller Center reference.
Of course. I mean, I think it is.
Or is it just a reference to New York lighting up like a Christmas tree?
Yeah.
But they were there in December, so it probably may be Rockefeller Center reference.
Literally or not. But like you said, to me, the Angel of Harlem is Billie Holiday. But I mean, it's got, a veritable who's who. But I don't think it's cheap. I think that it's part of their journey of understanding and embracing this American music culture and all of that.
It's a kind of
It's a musical journey.
It's a little bit of almost like a dirge for Billie Holiday. I mean, that's probably what half the song is about, really. Lady Day got diamond eyes. She sees the truth behind the lies. She says it's heart and soul. Blue light on the avenue. God knows they got to you. An empty glass. The lady sings. Eyes swollen like a bee sting. That's alcohol, drug reference. And, an angel in devil's shoes. You never look like an angel. There's a lot about this song. It's really just about a Billie Holiday.
It is. Sure, with her
memorial.
struggles. And I thought, you said it's a dirge. It's interesting because I thought the lyrics are dirgy. I mean, the subject matter is dirgy. All right, but the arrangement and the horns, it's so joyous.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a choice they made that it sounds like a celebration more than it does the opposite, which is the tragedy, which it really is about. So I love that it came across like a celebration musically. And I think they could have easily gone the other way. They certainly could have indulged their other instincts and made it a dirge. And I think the way it sounds the fact that it sounds this way, joyous, makes it timeless. Okay. I think it's a classic that when you hear it now, it sounds the same as when you heard it back then, but that it endures and it recalls kind of the era that they're talking about in the song. So yeah, I think those are some choices they made that I like a lot.
I know someone who says that she doesn't like this song, and I don't understand it. I don't understand. I don't know.
So this is the next track, and it is the one co-written with Bob Dylan, and it is Love Rescue Me. To me, it's a highlight of this record. It's a great piece of poetry.
It is a beautiful tune.
It's beautiful. The ache, the depths, the sorrow. It's got that Hank Williams kind of tragic, lonesome sound.
Yeah. That's a good analogy.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
The vocals and the horns, when the horns come in, you did not expect that, and yet it carries it through. And when that happens, and the sun in the sky, that part with the horns, and then I mean all the lyrics, the ache of the regret. It's got a lot of that Johnny Cash kind of broken my own heart through my own sins or past or whatever it is, the palace of my shame.
It's like a Johnny Cash gospel song.
Yeah.
You're right. It has some Johnny Cash kind of Sunday morning coming down. Why me, Lord? Moments, hurt moment.
It's got some Chris Christopherson.
Yeah, sure does.
It's that country music, and it's pure. It's not like Dalton Brothers country, which we know they can do the parody. This is real. This is the genuine article. This sounds like Hank Williams, which is about as pure as it can get.
They asked me to reveal the very thoughts they would conceal. Love, rescue me. And the sun in the sky makes a shadow of you and I, stretching out as the sun sinks in the sea. And here we are in the palace of my shame. Said love, rescue me.
Bono said this. It's about a man people keep turning to as a savior, but his own life is getting messed up and he could use a bit of salvation himself.
That is interesting.
So, and when you listen to, if you keep that in mind, when you listen to the song kind of takes on a whole new meaning.
Many
you can
lost
still make it your
souls
own, but
seek to find themselves in me.
yeah. I've conquered my past. The future is here at last. I stand. See, he ends. I mean, there's so much of a kind of a blues theme running through it, but at the very end, it's a real beautiful ending. I've conquered my past. The future is here at last. I stand at the entrance to a new world I can see. The ruins to the right of me will soon have lost sight of me. Love, rescue me. It's salvation. It's the entering in of a man's soul into a much higher place.
Yeah, and it's also that it's that struggling with being a rock star. I heard Bono say when he was young, and this was many years ago, I heard him say that John Lennon told him one time, people used to come up to him, John Lennon, and ask what the secret was to life or the answers to and John Lennon just got so fatigued and tired of that he would stop them before they even got up to him and say, listen, I don't know. I don't have the answers. You have to find them yourself. So, and that was a young Bono. And I think this is what he's talking about here, struggling with that sense of being this rock star who people look to, seek to find themselves in me. And he's struggling and he's finding peace with it, though. Like you said, near the end of the song, he kind of comes to a place where he understands it. He's, of course, struggling with his own spiritual well-being, but he kind of accepts himself in that role, I think it's a fascinating look at where they were as a band, because they were the biggest band in the world, and he was a surrogate spiritual mentor to a lot of young people, that were looking to him the way they used to look to John Lennon. He is trying to figure out what all that means and how to make peace with that.
This is good. I said love, climb up the mountain, said love. I said love, oh my love, on the hill of the sun, and that is S-O-N, I believe, not S-U-N. On the hill of the sun, I'm on the eve of a storm, and my word you must believe in. Oh, I said love, rescue me.
That's fantastic.
I've conquered my past, the future is here at last, et cetera, et cetera.
So this is, I think, that thread that is running through this album of their own transformation or spiritual quest. Here is the transformation of this person who is struggling with their own identity of being this rock star, this accidental spiritual leader, and he makes peace with that. And I think it's a companion piece to the next track.
Let me say this. If I could put this album together, God Part 2 comes before Love, Rescue Me.
Because of the meaning, because of the thread that I just mentioned.
Yes, sir.
Interesting. It leads into the next track, When Love Comes to Town, which is like an explosion of salvation joy. Pure, explosive, raw joy. I think it's a salvation song, a testimonial song. This is more gospel and blues from the genius, B.B. King. It could be forced. It could be like, I've heard like George Michael and Aretha Franklin. That's a forced collaboration that might not have worked so well. Different genres, more like a train wreck. This works. Somehow it works. They pulled it off. And I know this is not about the movie, but, we all think about, well, that's some heavy lyrics.
You're mighty young to be writing such heavy lyrics.
And Bono's like, what do you...
Bono's got this sheepish look on his face. Like, oh, shucks.
He didn't know if he was being called out or disciplined by B.B. King or complimented. Bono doesn't seem out of place on this. He doesn't seem like he's trying too hard, to fit in. And it's a testimony.
It's a good blues song. It really is. It's a really good blues song.
It is, and it comes after. I think the thread of salvation is like desire, hawk moon. With these situations in life, these difficulties, these points of tension, and then love rescue me, and love comes to town. I think that's the thread.
I was there when they crucified my Lord. I held the scabbard when the soldier drew his sword. I threw the dice when they pierced his side, but I've seen love conquer the great divide.
Preach.
I wonder if that will come up as a favorite lyric later. I'm curious. But I love how he presents that to BB King in the movie. I love how he turns and says, "But I've seen love conquer the great divide." It's that voice inflection and that pause where you just kind of, it's like you expect, halos and angels to appear when he says that.
But he also seems like a young kid.
Yeah.
He's reading the lyrics to him like, what do you think?
Yeah.
Jim,
Yeah.
Think of this.
Was that when BB King said, "You're mighty young to be writing such heavy lyrics," or
Wasn't
was
it?
that a different snippet in the movie?
I think that was at the same snippet because I
Okay.
think those were the lyrics. But I've seen love conquer the great divide. I think that's what he was referring to.
I love that. I love that piece.
I mean, come on. Even
I
if these
threw
guys
I
are
threw the dice when they pierced his side,
yeah.
but I've seen love conquer.
I mean, listen, we're talking about the palace of shame. We're talking about I held the scabbard while the soldier drew his sword.
Right.
I mean, let's say these guys are full of themselves and bombastic on their worst day. They are self-important. This is good. This is good.
How can you again, I'm going to use a little, 2 sentences here to prove my point. But if you believe that U2 is over the top, they're being self-indulgent, they're being bombastic. Okay, then justify this. I held the scabbard when the soldier drew his sword. I threw the dice when they pierced his side. Does that sound like somebody that's writing from a point of self-gratification? It sounds like to me he's writing from the point of a sinner who says, "Look, I'm the dirtiest of the dirty. I threw the dice while he was being crucified, and I drew the sword when they pierced his side." Even if you're not a believer, if you just look at that snippet and go, "That's pretty," it doesn't sound like somebody who's into
I believe
self-indulgence.
I believe that it's genuine, and I think that anyone who doesn't would maybe attribute that to the old humble brag. Look at how look at how I am.
I'm proud of my humility. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So the next track.
I know this is one of your favorites. I know it is. Take
I
it.
don't even know. This is my favorite song on the album, and it's one of my favorite U2 songs in their entire catalog.
I'm surprised to hear you say it's your favorite song on the album, although I know you've always been a fan of this.
Well, it
Go
is.
ahead.
It's Heartland.
Why?
This song just breaks me down.
Why?
This song, right in the feels, man. It gives me what I call this faraway feeling. I'm instantly taken back. I'm instantly taken back to a certain place, a specific place, and that is my apartment in Lexington on Kirk Levington Avenue near Tate's Creek, and my apartment there. And just because it like I almost have like compressed a whole stage of my life into this song. For some reason, this song evokes so much powerful memory of that period of my life, which is about 2 years that I lived there. And so the haunting, atmospheric, everything from the wispy guitar to the bass. So many times it comes back to the bass of so evocative and powerfully emotional. The falsetto, the vocal layers. I mean, this is Daniel Lanois, man, all day long. This is, to me, just, I can't even explain it. Like so many songs that you can't explain why it does something to you. I can't. In fact, I was just texting the other day with my pastor about this whole episode. I said, we're doing the Rattle and Hum, and you'll never guess what my favorite track is. And I told her, and she's like, that is a surprising cut. But she said, it's not, but who can explain, the way it affects you? It's subjective, like all good art.
It's it's a song that I passed over many a time when listening to this album, but I think my first trip out west, I was, 13. I saw things out west that you don't see in the East. And people who've never been out west, who live in the East, just you can't fathom what the West is like. And even the beauty of the Midwest and the plains. I'm probably making a trip out west every 2 years now, and been for quite some time. And this is a song that really is taken on a greater meaning as I've gotten older. The imagery that's created, the music fits I can, a 66, a highway speaks, driving on 66 for miles and miles. And, you just feel that. So it's not something that I appreciated until I took many a trip out west and really fell in love with the American West.
When he starts to sing that part about Ghost Ranch Hills.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Ghost Ranch Hills. That's such great imagery. That's very poetic. It's a great use of words.
Yeah, and what he does with his voice in that little part. If you could boil down the essence of that's it right there. That one little moment. Oh, just so it's like the perfect bite of your favorite food. I don't know how to describe it.
See the sunrise over her skin. Dawn changes everything.
Oh, sorry. I hit play. Sorry.
Knock yourself out.
Check this out.
Freeway like a river cuts through this land into the side of love, like a bird in spear, and the poison rain brings a flood of fear through the ghost ranch hills, the valley waters in the towers of steel. Belief goes on and on in this heartland, in this heartland soil, in this heartland.
It is so Lanois. The layers. It sounds not unlike the work he did for Peter Gabriel on So, Robbie Robertson on his comeback album, and then like just that whole, the atmosphere.
He had an album around about this time called Katie. It really reminds me of what he would have done in his solo work, Lanois. I mean, you covered The Maker on that album, which is an excellent song.
So I love this song so much, and I also think that you have to allow, when you love songs so much, you have to allow for the fact that it might not be as great to everyone as it is to you. There are some songs that I love so much, and I also demand that they be recognized as great. Okay? I love the song Like a Rolling Stone by Bob Dylan, and I think that everyone should regard it as being a great song. But I love this song, and I don't demand it because it's personal. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Track 14, which is now one of my favorite tunes on the album, God Part 2. And every time I think about this song and we're having a conversation about it, I think about us watching that video of the live performance of that in my apartment in Lexington. And he would run up on the ramp of the stage and go, "Love." And you would go, "Oh, play that back. I got to play that." And I would go back, and you go, "Oh, play it back again. Play it back again."
Oh,
remember that?
Awesome.
Remember that?
Yes,
it was a clip off the Lovetown tour, and he was wearing I can't believe I remember the details of this, wearing this white shirt and of course the hat. And
what was I wearing?
Up along the stage, and
do you know what I was wearing?
No.
Okay. That is great. I didn't remember that until you said it. And now that's awesome. And that's a great moment.
This is you don't know this at the time, but this is musically, it's a
musical
bit of a foretaste of what's coming with Achtung Baby, I think.
Oh, yeah.
They're going, let's tweak this a little bit. But the song really doesn't fit musically with what's going on with the rest of the album. It's not a blues song. It's not a gospel song. Not that every song has to be, but it's relative to every other song on the album. It's quite ambitious.
It's also not a genre of American music that they're starting to, enjoy. It's just kind of it's an outlier in that sense. I do love the song. I will say it is a bit of a conceit to pair yourself with John Lennon. Like, really? Here he is. This is God Part 2. Nobody asked you for your version of God, and at that point, I think I do forgive Bono for being a little bit big for his britches. I thank God that he is, because I think that's who I want all of it. I want all of the audacity, because that's where you get a lot of the poetry. That's where the opera comes from. Okay. And it doesn't bother me. I think it's hilarious that he's like, okay, yeah.
Fairly hilarious.
It is.
It's been a long time since I should have listened to it. It's been a long time since I've listened to John Lennon's God, but I believe mainly what Lennon is talking about is, I don't believe in this. I don't believe in this. I don't believe in this. I don't believe in this.
Mhm.
I don't believe in the Beatles. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in Bob Dylan. I don't believe in this. So he's listing a lot of what he doesn't believe.
Yes.
Whereas here, I think there's a great amount of transparency where Bono says, I don't believe this, but I'm doing this. I don't believe this, but there's this tension and contradiction that exists in God Part 2. Whereas I think in God, Lennon's just saying, I just don't believe this, and this. It's like this dissertation of what I don't believe, where Bono's saying, here's what I believe, but I don't always do what I believe.
Yeah, good point. I also think that John Lennon's goal was to point out that, I only believe in me, Yoko and
Right.
me. He was sequestering himself away from
Right.
every expectation of the Beatles and of his own career. Yeah, there is a sense of this, of what Bono is doing here is saying, I say I don't believe this, yet I still do things that would suggest I do believe that. I don't believe in cocaine, got a speedball in my head. But yeah, that's a great point. It's definitely a precursor to what's about to happen by tearing down, the rock star persona that they've built.
He says, don't believe in cocaine, got a speedball in my head. Don't believe in forced entry. Don't believe in rape, but every time she passes by, wild thoughts escape. Don't believe in death row, skid row the gangs. Don't believe in the Uzi, just went off in my hand. But then I believe in love.
Don't believe in forced entry, don't believe in rape. But every time she passes by, wild thoughts escape. Don't believe in death row, skid row the gangs. Don't believe in the Uzi, just went off in my hand. I believe in love.
I do love that summation. I believe in love. I think that's great, and that's the way you would expect U2 to finish off their little Apostles' Creed of current culture in the late '80s. It's dated when you talk about Albert Goldman, who wrote the book. I mean, you got to really remember what happened there, or explain to your younger friends what that's about.
Yeah.
But still, it's emblematic of that time and some of the things that I do love the song. I think it's a little bit of bombastic. I'll take it.
This is a really, really good song. I think it's one of the more underappreciated songs in the U2 catalog. But, I kind of also fall on the side that it's kind of my pet, but I don't know that I could put up a cogent argument for everyone latching onto this and that they should latch onto it. So maybe it's kind of like Your Heartland.
Maybe, and maybe it's one of those too that the live version makes you like the studio version better.
U2 needs a double live album, but then again, I don't know. Everything's now so YouTube-ish. You could just
So I was today years old when I realized that this is the Jimi Hendrix version of the Star Spangled Banner. I'm not afraid to admit that. I'm not sure if I'll edit this out of the podcast final recording, but we talked about it earlier. I always thought this was Edge doing his take of Jimmy's Woodstock Star Spangled Banner because it flows right into the next track.
Yeah. There's no the crowd noise is there.
Right.
It's a continual crowd noise. So, and they've done this. I mean, it's like what we talked about off the air, but they perform this live. But then again, maybe they didn't. Maybe all this time that I thought I was hearing the Star Spangled Banner played live before Bullet the Blue Sky on bootlegs and so forth was truly just the Jimi Hendrix.
Them playing the recording
right
in concert.
My mind
is this like a Mandela effect? They're like, I could have sworn, I know for sure that I saw him do this live in concert. Well, hold on. No, just like there was no, just like there was no movie with Sinbad in the 90s where he played a genie, Mandela effect. I don't know, but it does go into the live version of the great song Bullet the Blue Sky.
It's Freedom for My People. It's side two's Freedom for My People.
What's that? Star Spangled Banner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It segues into another song, and that's basically its only purpose.
That's the purpose. You're just the entry to that. But also it does, I guess, it does show that it's like, oh, this song is about Americana and their exploration of roots music and different things. So, okay. It belongs in the movie, not on the album. Okay.
Track 16 and 17 are the weakest tracks on the second half.
What's that? Is that Star Spangled Banner and Bullet the Blue Sky?
Yeah.
Well, Bullet the Blue Sky is a great song. We all know that. And we've covered that this doesn't bring anything new to the identity of that song. It's a great blistering version. I love it. And it does give a little bit more of the rap of the ABC News, Hill Street Blues. That's great.
Right.
Which also gives a great timestamp on it. What Hill Street Blues, that was
Hill Street Blues. What? Yeah.
Irrelevant even when this was recorded. He should have said like Different Strokes, something like that.
Because that wouldn't have dated it right.
I think of Hill Street Blues as being no. Maybe had a drop from like Mrs. Garrett. Oh, girls. Bullet the Blue Sky is an amazing, strong version of it. But that's for a different album. That's for the double live album, or here we're still talking the same thing. The thread, the rhythm, the flow is just not got no use.
There was just very weak thought given to track sequence and not only track sequence, but what should go on the album. Bullet the Blue Sky didn't. And I think so. We got what? Bullet the Blue Sky. I still have found what I'm looking for. And Pride, I guess, are the three.
And Silver and Gold.
And Silver and Gold, which
was not really known. It wasn't really known.
Right. But Bullet the Blue Sky is less than a year old at that point. Well, it's probably a year and a half old. I think this was released in October of 88, Joshua Tree in March of 87. So it's a year and a half old. Same thing with I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For. Give us, if I want to hear that song, I'll just go back and pull up the previous U2 album.
But then, at the same time, for all of the misses, as far as hits and misses, for all of the, what I think was not a good choice to include all those, you get these gems like the next track.
That would be Scarlet. Hidden track on Rattle and Hum. It is Play That Midget Song, Bubba.
My friend and your friend, Christopher Wade Payne, we'd go out and we'd run around during this time period, and we'd go out drinking and carousing, and we'd get in the car to go out, and he'd say, "Hey, Bubba," because he called me Bubba. "Hey, play that midget song." And he was referred to the video, which had the little person, in the video. And to him, he never even learned the name of the song, but he loved it, and he wanted me to play that midget song. That's what it was. So It's a great, great song.
It is.
It's a beautiful, brilliant, simple. It completes the journey of the album. It completes the love story, the spiritual quest of, going through the trials and tribulations of the first few tracks, and then love comes to town, and all I want is you. That's all I ever wanted. It can be looked at as God's pursuit of humankind, and all I want is you. Or it could be our pursuit of God. All I want, it could be a person. Either way, this is the beauty. This is the beauty of this album. It's the perfect ending for the spiritual journey.
I'm not going to take credit for this because I'm not that smart. Van Dyke Parks actually arranged the strings for this. He's done a lot of work with other artists. Rufus Wainwright, who uses a lot of strings and orchestration in his material. But,
also on with Brian Wilson.
Yes. But he said that what he likes to do, or what he did on this song, is he frames the material itself with strong strings, so that what is being framed kind of stands out more. And I thought that was an interesting take. The song is, I think it has a strong theatrical component to it, and heavy strings do that. Bruce mastered that on Western Stars.
Mm-hmm.
Not his most recent, but his second most recent album. It kind of makes sense. The video's strange. It's not bizarre, but the storyline is kind of weird. It's a circus. Mm-hmm. You got this little guy running around, this beautiful woman. They're at the beach. She falls trapeze, But in a sense, it works, because I think the song itself is very theatrical. It is a really beautiful song.
Despite the lush arrangements, it's a less is more type situation, because it's so simple, it's so basic, and it's just beautiful. You say you want all these things, and it's almost reminding us of, as humans, we think we want these things. We think we want. You could almost sub in that phrase for "you say" and just say "we think." We think we want blah blah blah. But all we really want is you meeting God, or you meeting your true love. Or again, I like the idea of that pursuit of God after humans, but that's just a different take. It is what the listener hears it to be, but it is a love song, and I think it's just one of the best tracks on the album for sure.
I'm not going to take credit for this either.
I like when you don't take credit,
because again, I'm not this perceptive. I wish I was, but I read that the lyrics are written by Bono to his wife, and the Edge's guitar is her reaction to his words. Again, that's I think it's a really interesting take. I can see why they would say that. It's weird because you have this, it starts off in this very almost acoustic almost sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then the song explodes with Ed just going off on the guitar. And then you just wind down into this orchestral
Interesting.
conclusion.
I get lost in that outro. It's just this swirling, meditative.
Talking about the guitar solo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that he lets go of the trapeze and he's flying, floating. Whatever that represents, I don't know. But it is some of the most, again, meditative and soothing. Just to love it. Love it.
I was going to say something. I was going to say it might be their best love song, but I don't know I would go that far because I have something in mind much later.
I think that is a contender, and instantly a contender for their best love song.
Definitely. And
that's what it is. It's a love song.
It is a love song, and it comes off as a love song. It is a, diamonds on a ring of gold, your love not to grow cold, all the promises we make. I saw them in Nashville, and they were, I don't know what song they used to close, but as they were exiting, Bono said, "Hold up, guys. We have a special guest." And this guy was holding up a sign saying, "I want to play guitar."
Yeah.
And they helped him up on stage. This is basically impromptu. After their last encore, after they're exiting the stage, Bono says, "No, come on back, guys." And they helped this guy up on stage, and he's blind. And
wow.
he played this song. I think it was his favorite song for his wife. And Bono spends a few minutes kind of teaching him a few chords, and they just go right into "All I Want Is You," and the guy's playing the song. And Larry comes in and Edge comes in, and they play a little bit of the song. And it's interesting because the guy was blind. It says "eyes in a moon of blindness" is a line from the song. But after it's over with, the guy's just flabbergasted and thanks him, and he hands the guitar to Bono, and Bono says, "No, here, take it." He gave the guy his guitar, and then the band walks off stage.
Yeah, that is a great story, man. Where was that?
Nashville. There's a video. There's a video of it out there.
Nice.
Just a beautiful moment. And I've actually researched it a little bit. That is not a cheap guitar.
Yeah,
he's not playing little guitars you pick up at Walmart.
No, I love when people give things like that. That's super cool.
If I can find that, I'll post it on social media.
Okay. So that brings us to the end of the tracks on this album, Rattle and Hum. This is Rock and Roll Doggies. It's Jason and Don breaking down music. It's been important to us. It's U2, album by album. The way we typically do it is after we go through each track, each of us names a standout track, an underrated track, and our strongest lyrics from the entire album. And then we give our overall rating on a 10 scale. Are you ready, Sir Smurf?
For the most underrated track, what do you got for me?
Heartland.
I knew that was coming.
Heartland is the most underrated. Again, I can't say that it is the best. Everyone has to recognize it, but I think that more people should recognize it. I think it is in a lot of ways just a great snippet that exemplifies the tone, the feeling of the record, exploring Americana, and it has just such a great imagery. I know it's not about the movie, but you remember in the movie, they're sitting there looking at the Mississippi River. Thomas a lift edge. I mean, it's just so evocative. And also, you just never hear people talk about it as one of the best tracks of the new songs. And again, we're talking about only the new songs here, obviously. This to me is the most underrated track.
I think you're right. It's a song. I think you could make a case for two songs that really sum up this album. One, I think, would be Angel of Harlem. And I think the other would be Heartland. Both, I'm not saying I would lead off an album. I would lead it off with Angel of Harlem. I wouldn't lead it off with Heartland because it's not a good lead track. But as far as just being a kind of a synoptic
Yeah.
representation of what the album really is in a nutshell, I think Heartland could serve that purpose.
Mississippi and the cotton wool heat.
Yeah.
66, a highway speaks of deserts dry, of cool green valley, and all these layers of vocals, going on.
Yeah.
Gold and silver veins, all the shining cities, man. That's a great line. That's almost like this wide-eyed immigrant coming to the shores of America with all the shining cities. This is a dreamlike track that takes me to another place. It's got this faraway feeling. Love it.
This is a band that, and I don't know. I think they first came to America, I don't know, 81. Don't hold me to that, but I'm close. Talking about a band that has been in America for 6 or 7 years. And one of the criticisms is that here comes this band from Ireland, and they come here and they want to introduce Americans to American culture. And there were people that they received some criticism for that. But you know what? Here's a band that's been in and out of America for 6 or 7 years, and they're talking about Route 66. There are people that are 20 and 25 years old that have no clue what Route 66 is. So you know what? Yeah, maybe they were obviously fans of America culture at that point, but a byproduct of that was, you know what? You might have learned something from these guys you didn't know, because I'd never heard A Love Supreme mentioned until Angel of Harlem. Now, I knew what Route 66 was, but I didn't know anything about Birdland on 53 or Charlie Parker, or I might have casually heard of Billie Holiday when this came out, but I know a lot more about Billie Holiday after it came out. It's an educational journey.
If you knew what a Harley Davidson meant to this man. What's your underrated track? Is that it?
What do you think my underrated track is?
Your underrated track is it's God Part 2.
That is correct. That is correct. It's, and some of it boils down to what you think is underrated. I think God Part 2 has a more prominent role in the consciousness of U2 fans than maybe Heartland. Heartland, I could definitely see, although I mean, it's personal preference. I wouldn't put it as the most underrated track, but it is a very under the radar song. I mean, people don't talk about Heartland. They talk about God Part 2 a little bit more, but
yeah, probably because it's derivative of God Part 1. But yeah, Heartland just flies under the radar. So, okay, you go first on this one. What is your outstanding track? Your standout track?
I'll let you guess.
Well, I'm going to guess yours.
Yeah.
It is.
And I'll guess yours.
It is Angel of Harlem for you.
It is not. We go by best track and not by what is the favorite track.
Well, we call it standout track.
Standout track. Yeah. And I wrestled with this one. I actually wrestled with this one and the best lyric. The best lyric I really wrestled with, but the best track I chose is All I Want Is You.
Really? So did I.
But
I wrestled too. I did, because there's some great songs here, but then all of a sudden it became clear, because I mean, it is just the essence. It's the essence of this album. There's nothing wrong with it.
It's just beautiful, sweeping, powerful, lengthy song, but it doesn't drag. There's just, there are moments where you've got edge going off on guitar, and then you've got this almost this symphony of strings, and then you have at the beginning, it's just boom, 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 boom. It takes you on a journey musically through a lot of different emotions, through the use of different musical techniques.
For sure. And it just is so beautiful. It's a great way to close it out. It stands alone, and it'll stand the test of time. It's timeless. Okay. It sounds as good now. It doesn't sound like it was a part of an era. It's evergreen. What? What are you laughing at?
I don't know. I don't know why it struck me funny, but it just did. I was having flashbacks to '90s.
It's the standout track for me. I could have gone with something more maybe emblematic or dramatic, like, Desire. That's another like fence post of the album, or When Love Comes to Town, or I think Love Rescue Me is also a contender for that.
I
But
agree.
yeah, but I think this is All I Want Is You. Who's going to not like that? And I don't listen to it as much as the other tracks. Like I guarantee if it tabulated my listens, I'd have probably Heartland and then some of the other ones, the live tracks even. All I Want Is You would not be in my top few off this album, but I do think it's the best.
Angel of Harlem would have probably been second on my list there.
That's a high one too. I appreciate that more now than I did when it came out.
Definitely. What's your favorite lyric?
Man, I struggled with that.
I did too.
And I'm still struggling. I could give you 5 answers and they would all be correct. I took little screenshots on my phone as I was doing this and getting ready for it. Here's some that I went through.
Consolation prizes.
Yeah, here's some also ran. When the night has no end and the day yet to begin, as the room spins around, I need your love. Love, rescue me, come forth and speak to me, raise me up and don't let me fall. I mean, that whole, well, we'll come back to that. I was there when they crucified my Lord. I held the scabbard when the soldier drew his sword. I threw the dice when they pierced his side. But
you got to pause. But I've seen love conquer.
And that's not even Bono singing it. It's BB. And that makes it even more magical. It's Bono's words, and he's not even singing them. The other guy's singing them. To me, the lyrics of Heartland, see the sun rise over her skin. She feels like water in my hand. Into the side of love like a burning spear. Oh, brother.
Like a burning
Ranch
spear,
Hills.
that's good.
So all of that. And here's one. I heard a singer on the radio late last night says he's going to kick the darkness till it bleeds.
Kick the darkness till it bleeds daylight.
That's good stuff. So here's the one I've settled on, as you might have guessed, as I alluded to it earlier. In the cold mirror of a glass, I see my reflection pass. See the dark shades of what I used to be. See the purple of her eyes, the scarlet of my lies. Love, rescue me.
I can't argue that.
Man.
I can't argue. I couldn't argue a lot of anything off Love, Rescue Me.
Right.
Because there are a lot of gems in that song. I would say that number 2 would probably be I held the scabbard when the soldier drew his sword. I threw the dice when they pierced his side. But I've seen love conquer the great divine. That would probably be number 2. Number 1 for me, I tend to go for song lyrics that I love poetry and music, but I also like to find snippets of songs that go, okay, wow, that really means something. That opens my mind a little bit. It's not a prose, but it's just a little snippet of a piece where you go, that got me. And there's just something about it. And it's you glorify the past when the future dries up. From God Part 2.
It's a really good one.
It's weird because you go for these sweeping poetic landscape moments in the music, and I go for these little succinct snippets.
Yeah. That's a great observation too, because we have different approaches to what we like about the same exact music.
Yeah.
And we can like the exact same song for different reasons.
Yeah.
And you're right. And I know that you pulled out one line from a later U2 song that I never thought of. And you kind of used it as a mantra for a while. I found grace inside a sound. I found grace. That's all I found. And that's from the song Breathe off of No Line on the Horizon. And I think that's great. And you just pulled out that little diamond right there. And I'm busy with the sweeping statements. And you're like, here, check this out. Look at this little thing right here, man. It's perfect.
You're the one you stand back at the art museum 10 feet away from the painting, and you're seeing the entire piece. And I'm up here with my glasses off, looking up 6 inches away from it and go, Jason, look,
I
check
know.
out this little speck. Check out this. There's a little brush right here. He did this little with a brush.
That's right. That's why we spend so much time in museums.
That's right.
That is so interesting, though, and I never knew that. And to me, that is super interesting, the way we process art, even the same piece of art. But that is a great little line, and it means more to me now than it used to. You glorify the past, the future dries up. It was prophetic in the life of the band, of U2, what's about to happen with them. But man, that's life. With 50-year-old man, that's exactly what life is.
And it's life when you're 21 and you're coming out of the age of innocence, and you're beginning to face adulthood, and you go, all of these things that I knew now no longer really exist in the same form. So I want to go back and focus on what was, because what was is apparently greater than what is to come. And when you're 20 years old, that's your world. As you get older, you're 35, 40, 45, whatever, maybe that perspective changes somewhat, depending on your circumstances, I guess.
And we've always been prone to looking back at the past for either reasons of nostalgia or to find our own identity or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe I think more so than some people. I think
Definitely.
I have that sense of nostalgia a lot more. And that's a great reminder that you can't live your life that way. If you glorify the past, everything looks better in retrospect.
Yeah.
My life wasn't as good in 1988 as I romance it to be looking backwards,
But I think the key word here is glorify.
Yeah.
Not that you ponder the past when the future dries up. You glorify it. You make the past out to be something much, much bigger and more profound than maybe what it is.
If you look at it realistically, like how many old timers do you hear talk about the way it used to be as the preferred way and how great it was, ball players back then, blah, 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 blah. Well, if you glorify that time and don't look at it for what it really was, then you'll never see the value of the progress that's been made in terms of culturally, or, hey, the glory days of the Brooklyn Dodgers, that's great. Before baseball was integrated, sure, forget about all that. You see it for what it is, not through the lens of just everything was better back then. The good old days, they were fine. Just look at them realistically.
But, and kind of to your point, the second part of that explains the first part. So you're glorifying the past when the future dries up. So when you see no future, you go back to the past, because it's all that's you pick and choose from the past, because then you can create your own little utopia.
Yeah. Wow.
Which goes back to the glorified part of that.
It would be fun to have the time and ability to go back and take philosophy and sociology classes. And not only would we dominate, but still, I mean, I care so much more about things that I did learn in college, but I mean,
yeah, I know.
These kind of conversations make me appreciate so much more the fact that we got the chance to study it a little bit. In some ways, I wish I could do this all the time and spend that time examining life.
But this is why U2 was the band of our time, is because they were a band that was about finding out what really is, what the world is, what God is, what love is, what sex is, whatever. And that really I think that's why we gravitated to them, because that's really what we were trying to do. And I don't think a lot of kids were necessarily into that. Maybe they were out partying and these kind of things weren't in the forefront of their mind, but for us it was. And I think that's why U2 was such an important band for us.
Yeah,
We saw a lot of ourselves in them.
that's
Say that
absolutely
right?
true.
A lot of ourselves in them. Yeah.
Absolutely true. More so than any other artist, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is always the trickiest part. Overall album rankings. I've got the previous rankings in front of me. And so I'll just remind our listeners that Boy was our first ranking. And on a scale of 10, 0 to 10, 10 being the highest, I gave it an 8.1 and you gave it a 7.1. October, is that what you have?
I actually had you give it an 8.2, but we're not going to split hairs either way.
8.2. Okay.
That's like 1/10 of a star. You have
Okay.
to squint to see that on the
I think that's
print.
the East German judge. The October was a 6.4 and 6.7 respectively. Mine was 6.4. You know, probably too hard on it, but still, this is what we gave it in the moment. And then War, I liked it a lot better than you did. I gave it a 9 and you gave it a
7.6.
7.6. The Spirit of 76. Unforgettable Fire, we came down. I thought I was surprised by how close we were on this one. 8.9 for me, and you had a solid 9.
Yep.
Then we were very close on Yashua Tree. I had a 10, and you had
9.7.
Is there a 9er in there? This one, I thought a lot about. Obviously, you want to look at the rankings you've done before and kind of keep in light of those. I give this. If it's only the new songs, I would rate it a little bit higher, but it's not. The reality is it's a sprawling double album that doesn't have a lot of flow to it. It made some weird choices about what to include, but the new songs and the good parts are really, really strong. I gave it an 8.5.
I like you, I struggled with the score because these are important topics, of course. I was curious where you would come in because it is a very difficult album to nail down. I think that if I could have had my way with track selection, I would have probably pushed this over a 9. So I'm not so sure that I wouldn't have put it above The Unforgettable Fire, which is an album that I, of course, love. But the truth is, you take the album from start to finish for what it is. I gave it an 8.7.
It's like you came to the same conclusion that I did, is that I wish it was something else, and the good parts are still good, right? They're really good.
There's enough really good material there to carry a lot of the dead weight. The second half of the album is just really good.
Yeah.
That's a lot better than the first half of the album.
Tell me the ideal order of songs if you'd redo the album.
Let me go to I got to go to the track listing here.
So I think I agree with you that Angel of Harlem would be a great kick-ass opening track.
I mean, you open with Helter Skelter, for crying out loud. I mean, that's just really, you open with the cover of a Beatles song for an album.
Well, to be fair, they stole it back. So, I mean,
okay.
That's what they were doing when we listened to it. That's what they were.
What a noble endeavor. I'm thinking off the top of my head. Angel of Harlem, I would open with Angel of Harlem, God Part 2, Love Rescue Me, When Love Comes to Town, Heartland, and then probably, Desire and Hawk Moon, and then when I'm closing with All I Want Is You. That's a very cursory evaluation.
I think Desire is a good opening track.
I could see why you'd say that, yeah. The only reason I go with Angel of Harlem is because it really sets the tone for what the album is about thematically.
You know how when albums used to have two sides, I think Angel of Harlem sounds like a side 2 opening track.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Well, isn't it the opening track on the...
Well, I never had the album.
I didn't either.
I only had the CD, so
right.
I've still got my original copy of it. But somehow...
If I had all my cassettes here, I would whip out my...
I'm sorry, did you say if I had all my cassettes here?
Oh, yeah, they're not here. They're in transit. But I still have all my...
Let's focus on...
I still have all my cassettes.
All my cassettes.
Oh, I'll send you a picture. I'll send you a picture. Is that the original Rattle and Hum that you have, the CD?
Oh, here it is. Look.
I haven't looked at that disc in a long time. I
Like
remember
the whole thing is just trashed from being in my car or
the
whatever.
Joshua Tree's that way for me. Now, the Unforgettable Fire is, I've lost all ink print on the cassette. It's like a 99-cent blank cassette you'd buy at a drugstore.
Like a wild card, it's, hey, it's a cassette. Something's on there.
Yeah, you can record over it. Sure, here, take this. Why do they have tabs on them?
I can't even get this cover back on here. I got to keep it in hospice. Down.
Is hospice? What is your?
What?
Yeah, what you would open with Desire?
I would open with Desire, and then I would go to Hawk Moon. I'm still going to include Helter Skelter.
Really? Okay.
Well, I mean, hold on. Let's take that off. Let's
record it at McNichols Arena in Denver, which has now been demolished.
Yeah, I know. That's where John Acquisto played Hot Shot.
That's right. I remember that now.
He hit 9 shots from the top of the key. I'd say Desire, Hawk Moon, Love Rescue Me. I don't know. I'm lost.
What about if, and by the way, Heartland was bumped off the Joshua Tree. It was going to be on the Joshua Tree, and they bumped it for Trip Through Your Wires.
I got no problem with Trip Through Your Wires. I love it. But Heartland, oh, man.
Heartland, I like Trip Through Your Wires better than Heartland, but thematically, Heartland meshes more with what they were doing on the Joshua Tree.
Oh, it totally does. I completely agree with that. But I wouldn't change anything. As you know, I gave it a 10, the Joshua Tree.
That's true. That means there are no suggested modifications to an album.
No changes recommended at this time. Great. Well, that's a show right there.
That's it. So thanks for logging on, folks, and listening to our thoughts on one of the most influential bands of the modern era. Be sure to follow us at Rock and Roll Doggies on Instagram and on Twitter at Roll Doggies for details about our next podcast, which won't be as long as this one, and other tidbits as we take a chronological journey through the discography of U2. Until we connect again, good night, everybody.
No, it's a musical journey.